Standing by the window of her midtown office surrounded by skyscrapers, Catherine Brown gazed down at the bustling streets of New York. As a real estate attorney, she was known for her perfectionist nature. Around her were neatly stacked piles of documents, each one a testament to her meticulous character. "Kathy, I've got all the materials ready for tomorrow's meeting," her secretary Jennifer said, knocking on the door as she entered. Catherine turned around with a smile, showing her appreciation. "Thank you, Jenny. I'm about to wrap up now. We have an early start tomorrow." As Catherine returned to her desk and checked her final emails, her cell phone rang. Her face brightened when she saw the name displayed on the screen. "Mike, what is it?" Catherine answered. "Hey, Kathy. Where are you now? Still at the office?" Michael Wilson's voice was cheerful and seemed a bit excited. "Yes, I'm just about to leave." "Is something wrong?" "No, nothing in particular. I just wanted to see you. Can I stop by on my way home?" Catherine smiled. "Of course. But you'd better hurry, or I might get home before you." After hanging up, Catherine began packing documents into her bag. She and Michael had met 5 years ago at a dinner party hosted by mutual friends. Michael was a successful entrepreneur who had launched 3 tech-related venture companies. He had an easygoing personality, in contrast to Catherine's meticulous nature. "Tomorrow's your final dress fitting, right?" Jennifer asked. "Are you nervous?" Catherine nodded happily. "A little. But I'm more excited than anything." The wedding was 2 weeks away. All preparations were perfectly in order. True to Catherine's nature, every detail of the ceremony had been carefully planned. Michael, on the other hand, showed little interest in such details, simply saying, "Whatever you decide is fine with me." When she arrived at her apartment, Catherine ran into Michael just as she was getting out of the elevator. He smiled, embraced her, and kissed her on the cheek. "How was your day?" Catherine asked, and Michael shrugged. "Same as always. Meeting after meeting. Oh, and I signed a new contract." "Details?" "Well, I didn't really read it carefully," he said with a laugh. "Honestly, you." Catherine sighed, though she couldn't help but smile. "One of these days, you're going to get yourself into trouble. Not reading important documents properly." It's fine. I have good instincts," Michael answered carelessly. "Anyway, what shall we have for dinner?" As they began cooking in the kitchen, Catherine's phone rang. When she saw Elizabeth's name on the screen, she hesitated before reaching for the phone. "Liz, what is it?" "Sis, I might be a little late for tomorrow's fitting." Elizabeth's voice had its usual hint of hastiness. "Work might run over." Catherine took a deep breath. Elizabeth's personality was the complete opposite of her sister's. Free-spirited and disorganized, always late for appointments. Since childhood, their parents had been drawn to Elizabeth's charming personality and tended to give her special treatment. "Liz, tomorrow is an important day. It's the final fitting. Don't be late." I know. I'll get there as soon as I can," Elizabeth answered casually. "How's Mike?" "He's fine. He's here with me now," Catherine replied, as Michael waved and called out loudly, "Hey, Liz." After the call ended, Catherine felt a little deflated. Her relationship with her sister was complicated. Although she loved her, she always felt manipulated by Elizabeth's behavior. "Don't worry about Liz," Michael placed his hand on her shoulder. "She has her own way of doing things." Catherine looked at Michael. He was always positive and had a generous heart that forgave people's shortcomings. That was one of the reasons she was attracted to him. The following weekend, Catherine visited her parents, Robert and Diane Brown, who were living a wealthy retirement in an upscale neighborhood in Connecticut. "Kathy, you chose a lovely color for the dress," Diane said as she poured tea in the living room. "Though it might be a bit flashy for Elizabeth." Catherine bit her lip lightly. Mom, it's the bridesmaid dress. I chose it. Oh, that's right, Diane continued, unfazed. How is Elizabeth doing? I wonder if she's busy. I haven't heard from her lately. She seems busy with work, Catherine answered. But she's helping with the wedding preparations. Robert Brown looked up from his newspaper. And Michael? Will his parents be coming to the ceremony? Yes, of course, Catherine replied. I confirmed with them by phone last week. Michael's parents, Joseph and Martha, came from a long-established family in Boston and were strict people who valued tradition and decorum. For them, their son's marriage to a lawyer was a source of pride, but Catherine always felt a bit nervous around them. That night, when Catherine returned to her apartment, she sat on the sofa in the living room and opened her laptop. She opened a secret folder and checked the prenuptial agreement with Michael. As a lawyer, she had included a special clause in this contract. It was a precaution, just in case. A clause stating that if Michael failed to show up at the wedding, a large portion of his business shares would be transferred to her. Of course, she didn't think such a thing would happen. It was just a form of insurance. She reread the clause and smiled. Michael, as usual, had signed the document without reading the details, saying, "It's probably just standard content anyway." Catherine closed her laptop and headed to the bedroom. On the wedding day, the bridal suite at a luxury hotel in Manhattan was filled with a festive atmosphere. Catherine Brown was surrounded by her hairstylist and makeup artist, being prepared for the most beautiful appearance of her life. Outside the window, the fresh May sunshine illuminated the streets of New York. A little more to the right. Yes, perfect, the hairstylist said as she secured the final floral ornament in Catherine's updo. Catherine looked at her reflection in the mirror and took a deep breath. After a long preparation period, the day had finally arrived. Is Elizabeth here yet? Catherine asked her friend and attendant, Jennifer. Not yet. But don't worry, she should be here soon, Jennifer said encouragingly. As the clock ticked closer to the scheduled time, the tension in the room gradually increased. A hotel staff member knocked on the door. Ms. Brown, there's something I need to discuss with you. Catherine walked to the door with a worried expression. What is it? I'm sorry, but it seems that Mr. Wilson, the groom, hasn't arrived yet. The ceremony is in 30 minutes, but... Catherine frowned. Michael isn't here yet? That's strange. He would definitely call if something was wrong. She quickly picked up her phone and dialed Michael's number. As the ringtone continued, the room fell silent. Catherine's heart began to race. Maybe he got caught in traffic, Jennifer said gently, but Catherine's anxiety only grew. After the fifth ring, the phone finally connected. Hey, Kathy. What's up? Michael's cheerful voice resonated with noisy background sounds. Lively music and people's laughter could be heard. Catherine was momentarily speechless. Michael, where are you? Everyone's waiting. The ceremony is about to start. After a brief silence, Michael answered in a light tone, "Oh, about that. I'm actually in Hawaii right now." Catherine couldn't believe her ears. What are you saying? Is this some kind of joke? It's not a joke, Kathy, Michael's voice turned cold. I'm here with your sister Liz. And... There was a pause, then Michael continued, your mom and dad are here too. We're all enjoying a little party. Catherine nearly collapsed onto a nearby chair. What are you saying? Do you understand what this means? There are so many people waiting. I know, Kathy. But I realized I couldn't marry you. Liz and I, we found each other. From the other end of the line, Catherine could hear Elizabeth's laughter. The blood drained from her face. Put Mom and Dad on, Catherine said in a trembling voice. Of course, Michael replied, and she could hear the phone being passed. Kathy? It was Diane Brown's voice. Mom, what is this all about? Catherine's voice was almost a shout. Kathy, calm down. Diane's voice was strangely cold. Sometimes life takes unexpected turns. Michael and Elizabeth look so happy together. Surely you can understand? Elizabeth is better suited for Michael. Catherine was speechless. Even her parents had betrayed her. Dad, she asked in a hoarse voice. He's here, but he can't come to the phone right now. He's having a good time. In the background, Robert Brown's laughter mingled with other voices. Catherine closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The phone returned to Michael. Kathy, listen, Michael's voice softened again. Let's forget about the wedding. Pretend it never happened. We're celebrating a new beginning here. After a brief silence, Catherine heard Elizabeth's voice. I'm sorry, sis. But we really love each other. You'll understand someday. Catherine hung up. The room was silent, and the staff and friends around her stood stunned, speechless. Could everyone please leave? Catherine said quietly. I need to be alone for a while. Once the room was empty, Catherine took off her wedding dress and pulled clothes from a nearby suitcase. Her movements were mechanical, but her mind was swirling with anger and sadness. After changing, she opened her laptop and searched for a specific file. The prenuptial agreement with Michael. There was determination in Catherine's eyes. Call Alex, she said to Jennifer. It's time to activate that contract. Catherine's voice had regained its composure. Her lawyer's mind was working again. There were no more tears on her face. Only an icy determination. 3 days after the wedding, Catherine's office was filled with tension. The morning sun streamed through the high-rise windows, illuminating the documents spread across the glass table. Catherine was dressed in a jet-black suit, her long hair pulled back tightly. Her eyes no longer showed sadness, only determination and cold calculation. Michael's stock situation is as follows, Alex Donovan pointed to a document. He was a friend from Catherine's law school days and a corporate law specialist. According to the prenuptial agreement, in case of marriage default, 40% of his main business shares will be transferred to you. This clause is fully valid. Catherine nodded quietly as she reviewed the documents. When can we convene the board meeting? First thing tomorrow morning, Alex replied. I've already contacted the major shareholders and explained the situation. They are very disappointed in Michael. They're beginning to question his judgment as CEO of a top-tier company. Catherine stood up and gazed out at the Manhattan skyline. Have you contacted Michael's parents? Yes, Alex's voice softened slightly. They are furious. Especially about their son's dishonest act and the social disgrace he has brought to the family. They are completely on your side. Michael's parents were people who valued tradition and honesty above all else. Their son's betrayal of his fiancée, and worse, his disappearance on the wedding day, directly contradicted their values. Will they participate? Catherine asked. Yes, they've already booked a flight to Hawaii. They'll be on the same plane as us, Alex answered. Catherine sat down again and turned her attention to another stack of documents. What about my parents' trust fund? That's been confirmed as well, Sarah, a female lawyer, replied. The documents that were secretly modified 5 years ago are fully valid. They think they're managing your assets, but actually it's the reverse. You have the authority to manage their trust fund. A small smile appeared on Catherine's lips. She had prepared for this years ago, using her knowledge and foresight as a lawyer. Within the complicated relationship with her parents, she had set up legal shields to protect herself. The airline tickets? Catherine asked Jennifer. All arranged, Jennifer replied while checking her tablet. Departure tonight at 11 p.m. to Hawaii. I've secured first-class seats. We'll arrive in Honolulu local time tomorrow morning. Catherine nodded. And the hotel? The same resort where Michael and the others are staying. I've booked a separate villa. They won't notice us. Catherine reviewed the documents one final time and picked up a pen to sign. Is that everything? Yes, Alex replied. Now we just need to proceed according to plan. After the meeting, Catherine remained alone in her office. Standing by the window, gazing into the distance, she reflected on her 5-year relationship with Michael. All the smiles, promises, shared dreams. And the final betrayal. Her cell phone rang, and Joseph's name appeared on the screen. Catherine answered. Catherine, Michael's father's voice was solemn. I want to deeply apologize for my son's actions. We thought of you as a daughter. Michael's behavior betrays our family's values. Thank you, Joseph, Catherine replied quietly. You bear no responsibility. No, we do share some responsibility. We should have raised our son better. Joseph's voice was filled with remorse. Martha and I are on your side. No matter what. Those words mean a lot to me, Catherine answered honestly. I'm heading to Hawaii tonight. Let's meet tomorrow morning when we arrive. After hanging up, Catherine returned to her desk and checked her final emails. Meanwhile, her plan was steadily progressing. At the company Michael managed, an emergency board meeting had been called, and a resolution to temporarily suspend the CEO's authority was being prepared. Catherine left the office and returned to her apartment to pack. Looking at the box containing her wedding dress, she momentarily felt a tightness in her chest. But that feeling quickly disappeared. That night, at John F. Kennedy International Airport, Catherine's legal team and Michael's parents had gathered. Martha Wilson saw Catherine and embraced her without saying a word. I will never forgive that boy, Martha said quietly. You are our family, Catherine. Even without blood ties. On the plane, Catherine sat by the window, gazing at the night sky. Alex sat next to her, discussing their final strategy. When we arrive, we'll first confirm their location, Alex said. Then we'll confront them at the most effective moment. Catherine nodded. I want to catch them when they're most off guard. I'll shatter their paradise. While flying over the Pacific, Catherine finally fell asleep. It was her first decent sleep since learning of the betrayal. In her dreams, the shocked expressions of Michael, her parents, and Elizabeth appeared repeatedly. When they arrived at Honolulu International Airport, the morning sun was already illuminating the island. At the airport terminal, Michael's parents were waiting. Joseph Wilson stood with a dignified presence, while his wife Martha was elegantly dressed but with fierce anger in her eyes. Ready? Joseph asked Catherine. Catherine nodded. Perfectly. They got into a taxi and headed for the resort where Michael and the others were staying. In contrast to the beautiful Hawaiian scenery visible through the car window, the atmosphere inside was solemn and heavy. Where are they now? Martha asked. At the resort's private beach, Alex answered while checking his phone. According to our sources, they plan to relax on the beach all day today. Catherine gazed at the blue sea outside the window and said quietly, perfect. People are most vulnerable when they're relaxed. The taxi arrived at the luxurious entrance of the resort. Catherine and her group checked into 2 villas that had already been reserved. Let's meet in the lobby in an hour, Catherine said. Until then, I have some preparations to make. She entered her villa, opened her suitcase, and took out a specially prepared navy blue business suit. It was her most powerful outfit. Standing in front of the mirror, she pulled her hair back tightly and checked her composed expression. Now, it's showtime, Catherine smiled slightly. At the private beach of the luxury Hawaiian resort, Michael Wilson was relaxing on a lounge chair under a parasol. Next to him, Elizabeth Brown was laughing with a cocktail in hand. Her laughter echoed across the beach, while Catherine's parents, Robert and Diane, were also gazing at the sea with relaxed expressions. I've never felt so free, Michael raised his glass. I think we made the right decision. Elizabeth nodded. I feel bad about Kathy, but we truly love each other. She'll understand someday. Kathy was always so rigid, Diane said with a hint of regret. That girl has a hard time finding joy. Always work, work. Don't worry, Robert said. She'll bounce back. Kathy is a strong girl. The four of them toasted elegantly, enjoying the tropical sun. Behind them, hotel staff were providing attentive service. In the midst of this, a staff member approached Michael. Mr. Wilson, I'm sorry to disturb you, but an important guest has arrived at the lobby. They've requested to see you urgently. Michael frowned. Me? Who is it? I don't have the details, but they say it's extremely important and business-related, the staff member replied politely. Work chasing me all the way to Hawaii, Michael showed slight irritation but stood up. Everyone, I'll be right back. Elizabeth looked concerned. Should I come with you? No, I'll be back soon. It's probably a call from New York, Michael placed his hand on her shoulder. We'll come too, Diane stood up. I've had enough sun for now, and I wanted to head back to the room anyway. The four of them left the beach and headed toward the resort's main building. When they entered the luxurious lobby, Michael stopped in his tracks. The blood drained from his face in shock. In the center of the lobby stood Catherine Brown in a perfect business suit. Next to her were her legal team and, incredibly, Michael's parents. Kathy. Michael's voice trembled. What are you doing here? And Dad, Mom too. Son, Joseph Wilson's voice was ice cold. We are ashamed of your actions. Elizabeth paled at the sight of Catherine. Catherine's parents, standing behind her, were similarly speechless. How's your vacation going? Catherine asked calmly. There was no emotion in her voice. Kathy, what are you doing here? Elizabeth asked in a trembling voice. Business, Liz, Catherine answered. She opened her briefcase and took out some documents. Michael, you signed this, didn't you? Michael looked at the documents with a confused expression. Oh, the prenuptial agreement. What about it? Look at page 17, Catherine instructed. Alex stepped forward and pointed to a specific page for Michael. Michael's expression changed gradually. First confusion, then disbelief, and finally fear. This is a joke, right? It's not a joke, Catherine answered calmly. This clause clearly states that in case of dishonest conduct, such as not showing up at the wedding, 40% of your business shares will be transferred to me. That's impossible. Michael's voice rose. There was no such clause. It was written in small print on page 17, Catherine explained. You never read documents properly. Remember how you hurriedly signed it? Saying, it's probably just standard content anyway. Michael's face turned pale. Is this legally valid? Completely valid, Alex answered. We've already obtained court approval. Mr. Wilson also had the opportunity to seek legal advice at the time of signing, but he declined, saying it was unnecessary. Elizabeth stepped forward and pleaded with Catherine. Sis, this is going too far. Yes, we made a mistake, but to take Michael's business. Really? Catherine looked coldly at Elizabeth. You all took my life away. On my wedding day. Catherine then turned to her parents. And Mom and Dad. You thought you were managing my trust fund, didn't you? Robert frowned. Of course. We're the trustees. Wrong, Catherine said quietly. 5 years ago, I legally transferred management rights to myself. With your signatures. What? Diane raised her voice. That's impossible. You don't read documents carefully either, Catherine sneered. Remember those papers I brought when I received my economic law degree? Those were actually documents transferring the trust fund management rights. The lobby fell silent. The expressions of Michael, Elizabeth, and Catherine's parents had changed to despair. "What good will this do?" Michael asked. "Is this revenge?" "Justice," Catherine answered. "You betrayed me. Everyone betrayed me. But I'm not the kind of woman who just cries and lets it go." Martha Wilson approached Michael. "Your father and I can no longer call you our son. Catherine is the daughter we are proud of." Michael looked at his mother in shock. "Mom." "I have nothing more to say." Martha turned her back. Catherine handed Michael one final document. "This is your resignation letter. A document agreeing to relinquish your position as CEO starting tomorrow. Sign it." Michael took the pen with trembling hands. He had no choice. "Betrayal comes with a price," Catherine said quietly. "You tried to ruin my life, but now it's my turn to change yours." Elizabeth was crying. "Sis, please, forgive us." Catherine briefly glanced at Elizabeth, then turned away without a word. She left the lobby with Michael's parents. Michael, Elizabeth, and her parents were left standing there, stunned. The autumn in New York was colorful. As the trees in Central Park turned red and yellow, Catherine Brown looked out the window of her new office in Brooklyn. A year had passed since that day. "Catherine, all the board members have arrived," her secretary called. "Thank you, I'll be right there." Catherine left her desk and headed to the conference room. She was now the major shareholder and chairperson of the board of Wilson Innovation. After Michael's departure, she had kept the company name but revamped the management team and set a new direction. Around the conference table were experienced industry professionals, her supportive legal team, and Joseph and Martha Wilson. After their son's betrayal, Michael's parents had truly welcomed Catherine as family. "The quarterly results are excellent," Joseph said while looking at the report. "Catherine, it's thanks to your leadership." "Thank you, Joseph," Catherine smiled. "But this is a team achievement." After the meeting, Martha approached her. "You'll come to dinner this weekend, won't you?" "Of course," Catherine replied. "I'm looking forward to it." The relationship she had built with her former fiancé's parents was an unexpected happiness for her. They loved and supported her like a real daughter. On her way back to her office, Catherine paused briefly, noticing a newspaper at the reception desk. There was a small article in the business section: "Former CEO Wilson establishes small startup." After being forced out of the company, Michael had lost most of his assets and was trying to make a comeback. However, his reputation in the industry had plummeted. No one was willing to entrust him with major investments. Catherine occasionally heard about Elizabeth. Rumor had it that after being abandoned by Michael, she had moved to Los Angeles and was working in a small gift shop. She seemed to be living a life far removed from her previously glamorous existence. With her parents, Catherine maintained only minimal contact. After losing control of the trust fund, their lifestyle was no longer as luxurious as before. Occasionally, letters seeking reconciliation arrived, but Catherine wasn't ready yet. She could forgive, but not forget. That evening, Catherine returned to her new apartment in Brooklyn. Having sold her previous luxury apartment, she was starting life anew in a different environment. On the living room table was a bouquet of flowers. The card read, "Looking forward to dinner tonight. David Morrison." He was an architect who had met Catherine 6 months ago at a charity event. A gentle and sincere man, he never judged her even after learning about her past. Their relationship was deepening slowly but surely. Catherine took a shower, changed clothes, and began preparing for her dinner date with David. Standing in front of the mirror, she gazed at her slightly different self. Her eyes no longer held sadness or anger. Instead, there was quiet strength and new hope. Betrayal had devastated her but had also made her stronger. She had risen not as a victim, but as the protagonist of her own life. Before leaving the apartment, Catherine stood by the window one last time, gazing at the city lights. Life can change in unpredictable ways, sometimes painfully. But what you learn from that pain and how you grow is up to you. She took a deep breath and closed the door. A new chapter was just beginning.